Hello, everyone, and welcome to God What Now? I am Bridget, and I'm so glad you're here. This podcast is for anyone who has ever reached a point in life where they looked up to God and asked God, what now? Maybe life didn't go the way you expected. Maybe you're facing loss, disappointment, illness, or a dream that seems impossible. Whatever your story, I want you to know you are not alone. Today, I want to share a dream that I had a few days ago, and I believe it carries a message of hope. A few days ago, I had a dream, and in the dream, I had planted some vegetables inside a cupboard. I don't know why, but as strange as that sounds, that surprised me even more was that I had forgotten the most important things. There was no soil, there was no water, there was no sunlight. Everything that was needed for growth was missing. Yet when I opened the cupboard, I couldn't believe what I saw. The vegetables had grown. Not only had they grown, but they actually developed healthy roots. I remember saying in the dream, God can make things grow even if the conditions are not right. When I woke up, one sentence came into my heart, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. Sometimes God makes things grow even when the conditions are not right according to us humans. How often do we convince ourselves that God can only work when everything is perfect? We tell ourselves, when I get the right job, then I'll pursue my dream. When I get enough money, then I'll start. When my health improves, then I'll serve. When my family is settled, then I'll trust God. When life gets easier, then I'll step out in faith. But God doesn't always wait for the perfect conditions. Throughout the Bible, He chose people whose situations looked impossible. Moses thought he couldn't speak well enough, yet God chose him to lead a nation. David was just so young, a young shepherd, yet God saw a king. Gideon believed he was the weakest person from the weakest family, yet God called him a mighty warrior. Sarah was far beyond childbearing age, yet God fulfilled her promises. Again and again, God reminds us that His power is not limited by our circumstances. As I reflected on this dream, I realized that it wasn't really about vegetables. It was about us. It was about the dreams we've buried, the prayers we've stopped to pray, and the situations we've written off because they don't look promising anymore. Maybe you're listening today and your life feels like that cupboard. It feels dark. You don't see any opportunities. You don't feel qualified. You don't have the resources. You think you don't have the resources that you think you need. Maybe you've been praying for something that seems impossible. Can I encourage you today? Just because you can't see the right conditions doesn't mean God isn't working. Sometimes the greatest growth happens when nobody else can see it. When I think about my life, I remember being diagnosed with menopause at the age of 38. I never imagined that one of the hardest seasons of my life would be one day become a book. I never imagined it would lead me to speak to women, encourage others, and even start this podcast. At that time, it didn't look like anything good could come from it. The conditions weren't right, but God was still growing something. Maybe that's where you are today. Maybe you are wondering why your prayer haven't been answered. Maybe you're questioning whether God has forgotten. Maybe you've given up on a dream. Maybe everything around you says it cannot happen, it won't happen. But what if God is already growing roots beneath the surface? Roots grow before fruit appears, right? Just because you can't see what's happening doesn't mean nothing is happening. God often does this, His deepest work, when human eyes cannot see. So today I want to leave you with one question. What area of your life have you decided can never grow because the conditions are not right, because it's just not working? Could it be that God is asking you to trust Him anyway? Could it be that while you're worrying about the lack of soil, water, sunlight, God is quietly doing what only He can do? If today you are asking the same questions that I asked, God, what now? I pray you remember this dream. Sometimes God makes things grow even when the conditions are not right. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love you to subscribe, share it with someone who needs hope, and let them know in the comments what have been your biggest God, what now moment. Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Until next time, Remember this, your story is not finished. The conditions may not be right, but God is. And if God is in it, something can still grow. Thank you.